Well, welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is singer-songwriter Robert Dixon. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is great. Before we get too far into the interview and talking about what you're up to, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and give us a little backstory?
I'm Rob Dixon, or Robert Dixon, as we discussed earlier. I've been writing music for, oh, 30 some years. I was thinking about this. This all started when I was in a car accident in 1990, and I was stuck in bed for like a month because I fractured my hip. And I remember my brother not having any cable TV, so I was stuck watching, soap operas off the antenna feed. But one of the things I always enjoyed doing back in high school, this was post high school, like 2 years out, was writing. And I really enjoyed writing. And so I got a notebook and I just started writing. And so, excuse me. And from that, I ended up picking up a guitar a couple of years later, and my cousin taught me some chords, and I was like, I'm good to go. And I just kept writing and writing and working on music, and then I performed one of my first times in 94, 95 at a little coffee shop, and I was just nervous and scared and uptight about it. But uh, yeah, I did it, and I kept doing it, and it's been a fun journey for me as a songwriter, and it's been healthy for me too.
I have been performing on stage since I was a teenager, and I forget that for people that didn't grow up without the anxiety of being in your 20s already or even older, right? Um, Having all of your life history following you to the stage, right? Like my life history is being on stage. So I kind of forget about those nervous energies and everything uh, coming up. So, yeah, nice to hear you touch on that. So, a car accident gives you some downtime. You start writing, you pick up a guitar. Now you've been performing on stage and playing music ever since then.
Well, I knew it was I at the time. Excuse me again. At the time, I was in Bismarck, and you don't get a record deal in Bismarck. So, so I was like, well, I know, and I'm gonna get a full-time job, and I went to IT, and I was able to do that as a full-time job. But music's always been my go-to, my fallback to that's something I really enjoy doing. And now at times when I'm for me for as you write music over time and you look back to what you used to write and how you write now, they're two different things. Because when I was younger, I was just everything I wrote, I was just like, oh, this is the best song ever, kind of stuff because it's perfect. And then as you get older, like, I could rewrite this and it could be make it better or make it more focused, that kind of stuff. So you grow as a songwriter because you learn from listening to other songwriters and how you grow off that stuff. So I don't know if there was a question there, but I'll wander off and talk about myself forever. You know how musicians are. But
That's why this show has been so successful, Rob.
yes, exactly. Anyway, so uh, yeah, so songwriting has been I joke with my wife has been my it was either go to a shrink or write music and write what I'm going through and what I'm dealing with or what I see in society or just how I think. And some songs that are good, some songs are bad, but it's always been the trial and error of trying to get through what you want to write and what you want to try to get to.
It's always been your expressive outlet.
Yes, exactly.
It's the way that you diffuse the world around you and to tell your experience, right? Which is what songwriting is to all of us. I have a lot of these conversations,
I'm
and
sure.
it all kind of comes back to the thing is that like you almost don't have a choice if you're chosen to be a songwriter, whether you do it, professionally or it's just something that you do your whole like you were chosen for this. This is the way that you are going to be,
I don't know if I go.
expressing yourself.
I don't think I go chosen. I think everybody can if they want to. I think you get to a point where in your life where you want to say something, you want to express yourself somehow, and you are able to open this pipe up a little bit and let some of this ideas flow. And in that, you discover more about yourself and more about creativity in yourself. And as you open that gate a little more and more, you discover more and more talent that you have. And this is just a great example of this. Was 2 months ago, we ended up moving a piano in our house, and I haven't played piano since I was a kid. I've been playing guitar all my life, kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I'll play around the piano, and now I'm just in love with this instrument that I've never played or never got involved with before. And I'm in, and growing on it. I'm experimenting on it. I'm my synapses are just bouncing all over the place, and I think that for me especially has always been something I've always kind of pushed myself forward to. Like, what else can I do? How else can I write this? What else can I write about? So
And for me, like every time I pick up the guitar, I kind of write a new song. I'm always just kind of noodling around and doing different things. And as the, the experience, I've been doing it for 25 years now. To pick it up and get going, then you can kind of hone that craft of the songwriting into whatever it necessarily is that you might want to speak about that day, or whatever emotion is bubbling up under the surface. And so to have a new instrument at any point in your life can unlock that, like you said, those new synapses and just firing.
yeah, my favorite story of when I wrote a song was I had writer's block, and very few times I was just like I got nothing. I was like, and it happens occasionally every couple of years, like, well, I'm done. I can't do anymore, and I'll just put I'll sell my guitars and just walk away. But I was sitting there, and I had this large arcade that I built. It had a bunch of arcade games from the 80s on it. And I was like, I want to write, but I can't write. I don't have anything. And so I thought of artists who, painters have a bowl of fruit, and they may paint a bowl of fruit, maybe to recalibrate their attention to detail and stuff. And on the arcade was a game called Miss Pac-Man. And so I was like, well, I'll write a song about Miss Pac-Man. And so I wrote the song called Ghosts That Follow. And it turned into this story of, you could, if you didn't know the story, you would think it's about a woman who's having drug problems, because she's, these things are chasing her. She's always focused on, these pills that she has to get. Um, she's in an environment that was once owned by a man, Pac-Man. And it was all these ideas that flowing in, and it's created this whole song called The Ghosts That Follow. And I just like, when I did it, after I wrote it, I was like, okay, I can still do this. This is good. So a lot of times I think you may even lose confidence in your ability over time, and all of a sudden all the synapses, all the things, ideas come together, and you create a song.
Well, and something you kind of touched on a few minutes ago was that, you're not really chosen, that anybody can do this. Have you ever considered, helping others write and having small groups of writing sessions? And
I recently have done that. We have some artists that on Mondays we have an open mic at the Terminal Bar, and I've met some musicians, some amazing musicians, and we've gotten together and we've written some stuff before and hung out. Yeah, that's always fun, because it's they may see something that you don't, and collaborating is something I've always enjoyed doing. It's a kind of a it's fun, because it's like you can take a song, one of my songs or something else, and bring in other musicians, and it turns into something completely different from what it originally started with. So, and that's always a fun thing about music. It can be adjusted, it can be changed, it can be molded, and recreated, kind of stuff. Except the ones that are really good and you don't want to touch ever, knowing you to give it. Only play it this way. Yeah.
I don't know that I have that. The way that I've run my band for the last 12 months or so has pretty much been showing up into the different towns, finding local guys to play with and throwing out the cover sets and letting it hang. It was really the only way that I could keep it interesting for myself, because, my band typically plays, a 4 hour bar set, and you're filling that up with mostly cover songs, right? And the set list, because I was playing with different guys all the time, I couldn't really afford to just change the set list all the time. I didn't want to think about it. So in some ways I kind of put that on autopilot, and then the way that I was keeping it fresh for myself is that I was playing it with different people every time I was playing. So I was keeping it fresh. Case in point, when I was in Minneapolis last month, I played, two shows, one at the Sherwood Lounge in St. Paul, and then I was at the Midway Saloon, a Friday and a Saturday, and I played with a different bass player and drummer both nights. Pretty much the same show, but with different players. It was a totally different energy and, special guests and different things happening too. But it kept it fresh for me. But that's also not I don't know that that's something you can do with any longevity. If I could do that the same way again next year, especially coming back and playing some of the same venues for the same people. Like I can trick you the first time, like, oh, that was cool. Can't believe you guys just met. But coming back the next time, now that you've established this expectation and you want to exceed that, you kind of have to maybe show up with a little bit more rehearsal time or a rehearsal at all.
Well, yeah, when I had occasionally when I go back to Bismarck, I'll be able to hook up a show and do a show there, and I'll contact musicians I know there. But they also know my music. They a lot of times have been around me enough where they're like, okay, and we can rehearse for an hour and just go through the stuff like, oh, this song, oh, that song, that kind of thing. And that's the nice thing. Plus, when you have it recorded, when you have like either Bandcamp or you got your music online, you can just like, here's the songs we're gonna do. Here's what they sound like. So
There it is, huh? So, Rob, you mentioned the Terminal Bar. I know you got a show coming up there, January 24th. You want to tell us about your spot there?
well, I just played there last month, and we did a kind of a band format, and I'm lucky where I can. I've been there, going there like the last 3 years, every Monday, and again, amazing musicians and fun people. So I can kind of pull and drag whoever I want to come jam with me if they're available, or come play with me. And I did that the last time. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do this time, which is kind of fun. I can do a whole show myself. I can have a friend, Royce, who's an amazing guitar player. He can join me. I found this bass player who's a college professor who does amazing bass parts on my songs that just change them completely. So it's I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but we'll be playing on the 24th. And then plus I have new songs, and then I added the piano. So I'm gonna bring the piano in and maybe do some piano songs, maybe do some acoustic songs, maybe do a band song, yeah. So yeah, I would never imagine I would ever get to this spot where I was able to do this and then throw in cover songs as always, if you want to kind of thing. But being able to get to the point where I'm playing all these instruments and I'm able to connect to what I'm feeling in my head when I'm writing to what I want to perform. And there's a song I wrote on the piano or wrote before the piano, but Four Roses, that's on that Bandcamp site. That's probably my best song I've written in a long, long time. And it just like, it feels so alive. And it's a really, I'm really proud of the song because lyrically and musically. So it's stuff like that that makes what I do just worth it.
And you're giving me a lot of confidence that maybe there is some longevity to the way I've been doing things. You just gotta, reach out early and meeting more people. All the guys I played with last weekend were like, yeah, whenever you're back in town, hit me up. And if the schedules work, they work. And if not, well, then you move down the list, I guess. So
Yeah.
nice knowing that I'm not the only one out there doing it. And it's a lot of fun, man. I mean, it's just so cool to get to go out and play our songs for people and to have a spot like it sounds like the Terminal Bar has been. So every Monday they have open mic, you're saying?
Every Monday they open mic, and I'm always there early up to set up and stuff. And then I usually go on first because it's like no one ever wants to go on first.
Right.
And I'm like, and then and then I bring other musicians up and we jam out, or I try out new songs. So it gives me the chance like to play around with new stuff and say, oh, let's do this, let's do that, and whoever's there. And it's a
Yeah.
very, again, amazing musicians and fun people. And yeah.
I love it. Coming up, I ran a couple open mics back in the Black Hills of South Dakota where I grew up and always loved that. I live kind of out in the sticks now in farm country, so it's a little less feasible. But we do run a weekly in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's kind of turning into that. We're calling it a roundtable right now. It was our weekly home of our songwriter showcase. which we did up at the Midway Saloon recently as well, kind of in a more of a marathon format where I did 6 episodes back to back to back. And that's something that I would love to feature you on in the future as well, Robert. Anything else you want to plug before we let you go? Make sure you get the website and everything out there.
Yeah, the website is the Robert Dixon at bandcamp.com. We got Robert Dixon. I'm on under Robert Dixon. I'm under Spotify and all the streaming services, kind of stuff. So have a listen if you choose or you want to. I've written no, I lost track how many songs and albums I've done. I guess 7 albums. I'm working on two, possibly 2 albums now, where I want to do kind of a piano organic kind of album of some of my older songs and see how they collaborate or work with the piano. And then I have a bunch of new songs I want to create a kind of more of a rock album off of. So
It's going to be an exciting year for you, Robert. I'm looking forward to it.
thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for being part of the scene.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me have me on.